Hello, today I have a talk called Stable, Safe Depth, and here's the first statement. So there's a basic ego thought. There is something to be afraid of, and I am afraid of it. And I'm given the context of the presidential debate that happened a few days ago. Again, time-space orientation is June 2024. And Donald Trump, and do I have names right? Yeah, and Joe Biden. I felt like it stepped out of my perceived reality there for a minute. And if you have no thoughts about this, bring to mind a situation that it seems other people care about, which is really just a disguise for you, or you're aware that you care about it in some way, in some situation that seems to have a disturbance around it. But you would think, oh, that's not my situation, that's someone else's situation. Or maybe it is a situation that has disturbance around it and you're well aware it is your situation and your life experience. Whatever the situation is, the context has come into your mind for this exploration. For some reason, mine's a presidential debate. Fine. Okay. So every separate thought, especially positive or especially negative, I would have about any component of that and any component of reaction or response to that, seemingly way outside of me or seemingly close to me or seemingly from me. All of that is the same ego thought. I wanted ego to send me thoughts to disguise love, a steady stream of thoughts. And that's what this is all about. And it's about the remembrance and the willingness to look underneath all of that and say, what is underneath all of this? I can now recognize all of this on the surface, 100% of it is meaningless, and it's a defense. It's very, very busy back and forth and analysis and judgment. It seems very thick and impenetrable, but it's just covering up love. And everyone without exception is that love. Every pundit, every candidate, every critic, every voter, every person in your life, everyone's love. Everyone's the most simple thing. All the complexity on the surface, each one of us can take responsibility for wanting it. Why? In order to cover up love. That's what we were about. And we seem to have done it. In our imagination, it seems we were successful in doing that. So every single little thing the ego would attract your attention to, and you can feel that as tension and stress. So if you make the most important thing in your life being aware of when that tension and stress creeps in and responding to it instantly, you'll notice. So every single little thing the ego would attract your attention to doesn't exist. We made a muddy covering for truth. We made a muddy covering for love. And we believe that all the separate aspects of what this muddy covering is are our safety and our security. So we're trying to nestle into this muddy covering that's covering up love. So every single thing the ego would attract your attention to doesn't exist. We've imagined it, and we call what is existence, we call the seemingly separate aspects we perceive and we believe we can see and hear and smell and touch and all that stuff, taste. We believe that's directly related to existence. We believe that is reality. That's the same basic ego thought. And then we can have all kinds of judgments about this reality. Even so, Spirit can make use of ego symbols. So we're not asked, hey, could you please stop perceiving this muddy covering you made to obscure love? We are not asked to do that. When we notice that our tension and stress has entered the scene, and there's even tension and stress in what I'm saying that I haven't allowed to be undone yet? Why am I even speaking words instead of using the power of my mind? There's tension and stress here that hasn't been undone yet. Why do I think I have to talk to you instead of just allowing through the power of my mind an instant return home for all of us? Because there's still attachment to this muddy covering I made to obscure love. And that's what we're about here. Allowing all that to be washed away, allowing all that to be loosened up and unwoven, and as we look at it, allowing the light to shine through and allowing that whole muddy covering to disappear. So ego has all of these symbols, all of these separate little things, a facial expression, a person's whole seeming being, the perceived past of a person, one perceived action that person seems to have taken. And all these things seem to belong to separate persons, and so blame and credit would go to separate persons. And the whole movie playing out in front of us is our responsibility, and we're seeing it because we want to see it. But we get distracted saying this movie, or this separate person in the movie deserves blame for this separate particular thing, and this separate person in the movie deserves credit for this separate particular thing. And based on this, I'm going to make decisions about other aspects of the movie that I perceive will impact future events in the movie. And I'm totally dedicated to the movie, to watching it, to having a sense of responsibility for the movie. There's a difference between having a sense of responsibility for separate aspects in the movie and having a sense of responsibility that I can wake up. It's my responsibility I have to be responsible for how I feel. And when I'm feeling tension or stress, it's indicating that I'm watching a movie of my own making. And it's my responsibility to become aware of what I'm doing and to return home, to allow the undoing that causes me to become aware that I have been at home in peace this whole time. So that's my responsibility. So I can't get distracted thinking person A or person B deserves special credit or special blame for being or doing whoever or whatever. But I can remember and become aware of, this is my responsibility. I'm dreaming, I'm watching this movie, I'm responsible for how I'm feeling, I'm responsible for what I'm thinking, I'm responsible for what I'm tuned into. Am I tuned into love? That's past the muddy covering and will shine through it, will wash it away. Or am I tuned into some separate aspect of that muddy covering and allowing all my thinking to come from the bouncing back and forth reaction that comes from that muddy covering I made to obscure love? Okay, so spirit can make use. I can't believe how much I talked about that. All right, spirit. I guess I really needed to sink into it and see it. Spirit can make use of ego's symbols. So even though I made a muddy covering to obscure love, every single separate particular thing that seems to reside or nest in this muddy covering I made to obscure love, I can give spirit every single one of those symbols without judgment. Whether that symbol seems to be a separate person I would call Joe Biden, or whether that symbol seems to be something that bounces between one person and another person, like criticism, or whether that symbol seems to be an action, like voting. Whatever the seemingly separate aspect is, I don't know anything about it. I made up the perception of it, and there's really nothing in particular about it to know. But if I want to leave this movie of strife and struggle, this movie is dedicated to death. If you'll notice, all the bodies die. All our battle bots die, and we think we're the battle bots, and we think we die. Okay, if I'm going to withdraw from the insanity of this experience that I wanted, I'm going to have to give spirit every tiny, tiny little symbol and admit I don't know the first thing about it because it's never had any meaning, and give it all to spirit and say to spirit, please use 100% of these symbols. And then during my day, when I'm feeling stress or tension, then I can become aware, oh, look at here, I am picking up one particular aspect of this muddy covering I made to obscure love, and I'm refusing to give it to Spirit. And that is the stress and tension I feel. I think a person has a particular characteristic, and I'd rather hold on to that fantasy than give the idea of arrogance to Holy Spirit and say, use this to free us all. I don't know anything about anything or anyone, and I never have, and it's never meant anything. I'm going to give you the idea of persons and actions and arrogance and happiness and gentleness, and I can't define or judge or evaluate any of it. I have to give you 100% of it, and what you are is what everyone is together. I have to give you 100% of it, and then you can use those symbols on our behalf. I can't leave anything behind for my separate self to attempt to manipulate. And if I do, I'm going to feel it, and I do feel it every day. So every day is the practice opportunity to locate, here's where I'm holding on, here's where I refuse to let go, and here's my opportunity to say to Spirit, I understand I don't know anything about this, and I never have, and I never will, and I can give you this perception of this separate aspect that I've picked out, and I think I know something about it. I can definitely give it to you now, Spirit. And it's okay not to know anything in particular about anything. I'm still going to think I do, but that's going to recede as I wake up and I practice every day. And whatever supports I need, I thought my ability to judge and categorize and analyze and make decisions supported me, and I needed it. However much that seems to wash away, what is real comes in to support and guide me. The light and the love that have always been here become apparent and obvious. And I can see that as they support and guide me, they support and guide everyone without exception. And then what I'm willing to see is not based on conflict, it's based on the harmony in which we're held eternally. Okay, there's always a stable, safe depth here for you and for everyone. So when I have a perception of chaos, my invitation is to remember chaos is what I've imagined, and I'm getting what I want, and it's an appearance, it's a perception, and the reality is safety. The light shining behind that muddy covering is safety. The love radiating behind that muddy covering is stable, is safe. And if I just spend a moment remembering that, and then another moment, and another moment, and another moment, and I spend time in that willingness, love, light, you can take over. You are all of us together. You can give us our thoughts. Our thoughts cause our actions and our speech. I don't have anything to say, but any of the actions and speech I perceive in this movie I wanted to see, this death movie I wanted to see. Instead, I'm aware of the light shining behind it, and I'm aware this light can give me every thought I have, therefore seemingly causing every perceived action, every perceived word this character seems to utter. That is the important place to be. The stable, safe place where we are now. We're at home in peace, where we always will be eternally, and remembering that just for a second is very helpful to me. So every day is for practicing, tuning into this depth and allowing it. And then perhaps observing the time periods when you refuse to tune into this depth because it feels too hard, and then you're wallowing on the surface in the mud in ego. That's always temporary. Those time periods when we're wallowing in the mud of ego and can't seem to do anything else for a while, those end. Then our focus and our willingness and our awareness of opportunities to practice, that always comes back. So be very patient and gentle with yourself, and you will automatically be very patient and gentle with everyone. Or you can do it the other way around. Be very patient and gentle with everyone, and you will automatically be very patient and gentle with yourself because we're one. So how you treat yourself is how you treat everyone. How you treat everyone is how you treat yourself. And you don't need to go into judgment about that. The most important piece is the gentleness and the patience and the recognition that everything, all of our perception here, it's temporary. The love is eternal and it never ends, and it's very safe. Okay. Every moment of tension is always a moment to have thought undone. So if we can very gently allow the idea of tension to be not, hey, I just had a very important idea and I need to impose it on everyone around me, or hey, this is unacceptable, so I need to change the behavior of everyone around me, or hey, I just had the awareness that there's something wrong in my personal makeup and I have to work hard to change personally. What if it's just every moment of tension, ego's going to give you a moment of insight and say, this is what this tension is about, and this is the action you have to take to fix it. Okay, ego will do that. But instead of acting on the ego thought you receive, when you become aware, your intention, what if you just allow the thought to be undone? The thought you're so sure is true. The thought ego sends to you as your help in time of need. Don't worry, I got it, I'll fix it. As long as we keep this dream of death going, let's stay immersed in the dream, and you can take action from the level of wallowing in the mud of ego thought, and that can look very positive according to the ego, or very negative, or anything in between. It's all ego. But shining behind that is something with no opposite, something without end, without limit, something eternal. And in our moments of deepest desperation, that is what we're turning to. Somewhere deep within us, we kind of know we made this up and it's not real, and there's something real that can help us. So every moment of tension we experience during the day, the slightest bit of offness, instead of reacting in ego, we can figure out what thought did ego offer up to us as a fix or as a solution. And can I set it aside for a minute? And can I just rest here where I am? Remember, everyone without exception is truly resting in a stable, safe depth. It's order. It's not the chaos we made. It's not the muddy covering we made for love. It's none of that. Everybody's resting here right now. And then continue on from that basis. Keep remembering our true foundation. We are eternal. We rest in eternal love, in eternity. We are unlimited. That's the truth of everyone without any exceptions. And the more we can rest here, the more we receive our thoughts from here. And those thoughts make our way forward through what remains of the dream. They make it obvious and easy and a joy. So wishing you happy healing today. Thank you.